Power Automate Desktop tutorial. I'm very excited to share with you guys a comprehensive tutorial about Power Automate Desktop, which is the most powerful robotic process automation tool available these days. This tool will allow you to automate almost any task that comes to mind. It is super helpful and very powerful. And in this guide, I'm going to share with you how to install, how to get started with your first flow, how to use a Microsoft Power Automate even if you don't have a Windows operating system, how to fill out forms, how to manipulate Excel files, how to conduct browser automation, how to scrape social media platforms or any platforms that you would like, how to what else do we have here? Naming conventions, best practices, error handling, how to trigger flows, a lot of stuff. I'm going to start from the basics and then we are going to climb up to more advanced stuff. I decided to record this video because many of you have approached me via LinkedIn or via email and wanted a more comprehensive guide about Power Automate Desktop. I've been uploading content about automations and Power Automate in the past, but it was never like Power Automate Desktop 101. So this is the goal for the video today. Obviously, we won't be able to cover everything, but this is going to give you a very good understanding of the basics. And from there on, it's going to be your own journey of studying automation and studying Power Automate Desktop. Obviously, I will also give you guidance regarding how you can grow afterwards. You can increase your skill set, knowledge base and stuff like this. But this will be at the end of the video. Before I dive into the installation and start teaching you actually Microsoft Power Automate, let me start with a story. And this was the first time that I encountered Power Automate Desktop. Back in the days, I think it was 2018, my wife and I had a dropshipping store. Dropshipping basically is an e-commerce business model in which you don't stock inventory. You create a website. As soon as someone buys from you, you go to the seller, let's say an AliExpress seller or a wholesaler. You fill out the details of the customer who bought from you in your own website. And basically the manufacturer or the guys who hold the inventory sends the product directly to the end customer. So we were selling shapewear and we had a deal with an AliExpress supplier who was based in China. And every time someone bought from our website, it was a Shopify website, we had to take the first name, last name, address of the customer, phone number of the customer, zip code of the customer, and fill everything out in AliExpress. And then the seller from AliExpress knew to ship the stuff to the buyer. Specifically in that instance, it was in the UK. We started scaling the store and we already had like between 100 to 200, even 500 sales per day later on. And this meant that my wife had to basically copy and paste 200 times the first name, the last name, the zip code, the phone number, etc. from the spreadsheet of all the customers, all the orders to AliExpress. And this was very tedious. It took her like 3 or 4 hours every day. And I remember one time that I came to the lounge and I saw her sitting on the floor and she was crying. And she told me, I cannot do this anymore. We must find a solution. So I kind of didn't know how to do it. So I spoke with a friend of mine and he suggested that I check out Power Automate Desktop, which was basically an automation tool. And I started messing around with RPA and Power Automate Desktop. And I figured that I can automatically fetch all the details of all the customers from the Excel and automatically fill out the forms with all their details in AliExpress. So basically, I can remove the human element from the loop. I can free up my wife instead of her having to copy and paste everything. We completely automated this. And this is when I fell in love with automation and robotic process automation and Power Automate specifically. Since then, I've built many automations with Power Automate Desktop. So I've built an automation, a YouTube faceless automation. Basically, it was an automation that scraped quotes of famous authors and famous philosophers. It went to Canva. It figured out a background for the Canva for the video based on the quote. So basically we took the quote, let's say the quote was about happiness, then automatically we went to Canva, we looked for a Shutter video that had the word happiness in it. It automatically pasted the quote in the video, the Shutter video, and then it automatically downloaded the video, and then it automatically took the video and pasted it in YouTube and basically uploaded the video automatically. So I created like an automation that uploaded 1,000 YouTube shorts within one day. Another automation that I created was an outreach automation, basically going to LinkedIn, finding companies that are looking for marketers, filtering out companies based on the headcount, so only companies that have more than 20 employees, finding the CEO, liking his recent posts, and then sending him a DM. Another automation was a data enrichment automation, for example. So let's say you're an agency and you want to figure out which companies, how many ads each company is running at the moment in their Facebook ad library. So going to the company page, figuring out what is their Facebook page, going to the Facebook page automatically, finding out the amount of ads that they are running, and then sending them an email. And this, for example, this is something that I built for an agency, and it saves them 8 hours per day. They used to do this manually. The person that used to do it was way slower and also way more expensive. And now they have this automation running in the background. So these are just a few examples. The opportunities are endless as soon as you understand the fundamentals, and you kind of it really sparks your imagination once you understand how you can use automation and RPA. Okay, so by the end of this tutorial or mini course, you are going to know how to utilize Power Automate. You are going to learn about the most popular stuff that you should know in Power Automate Desktop. And we are also going to conduct 2 examples, hands-on examples that will really increase your understanding, and you will actually be doing stuff in order to understand and remember how to create an automation in Power Automate. Now, first thing first, you need to install Power Automate Desktop. This is pretty straightforward. Go to Google, Power Automate Desktop installation. The first link is going to be this one by Microsoft Learn. You go down here, download the Power Automate installer. You let it download, it will take a few minutes. Let's wait. In the meantime, this is the documentation of Microsoft Power Automate. It is super helpful. It has a ton of information. You can also download a PDF, and basically in this documentation you have all the basic information and even the more advanced information about Power Automate, type of variables, how to create flows. It's basically a very comprehensive and great documentation that is well documented. Now, going back to the installation, so you just click this. It is pretty straightforward. I'm kind of not sure if we should skip this or not. Let's not skip this, just for the sake of making this very comprehensive. In the meantime, while we are waiting, we also need to install the Microsoft Power Automate Chrome extension, assuming that you're using Chrome. If you're using Edge, you can also download the relevant extension for Edge, Chrome extension, Microsoft Power Automate. This is how it looks like. And you click Add to Chrome. As you can see afterwards, you will have this automation activated. This is how it looks like. Microsoft Power Automate. There you go, this one. Now this is the installation already starting to run. This is how the Power Automate extension looks like. This is the installation. Basically, it says that I'm good to go because I already installed it, but it's very straightforward. You just need to agree to all the terms and conditions, define where you want to install Power Automate, then click the next button, and then it's going to install within a few minutes. Actually, I don't think it's so crucial that I share with you step by step how to install this, because if you're unable to install this on your own, you better not even consider using Microsoft Power Automate. If you have any issues with the installations, feel free to ask in the comment section. I will be glad to help and assist, although it is very straightforward and very simple. Okay, so we've installed Power Automate and we installed the Chrome extension. Now let's open this up. Microsoft Power Automate. This is how the app looks like. As you can see here, I have already many flows. So basically, here you have all your flows. And here you have some examples. So an Excel automation example, a web automation example, a desktop automation, date and time handling, PDF automation. And these are great, text manipulation. And these are great because when you view them, you can see how they structure flows and subflows. So here's an example. It is opening up the flow, and all the automation in Microsoft Power Automate Desktop are called flows. So this is an example of a flow. Flows consist of flows and also subflows. Subflows are smaller units of automation that you create. This is how a flow looks like. Over here, you have this tab that basically you have the variables. So these are different variables that are in this flow. These are selectors. I will show you afterwards what are these selectors. These are images that you're capturing. On this tab, you have basically all the actions that you can take. And I suggest that you go over all of them later on. Know that you can also search for specific actions. What is most important is, first of all, variable. So you can create variables. You can increase variable, decrease variable, assuming these are numbers. Also, you have conditionals, so you can create logics. So check, let's say we have a number, check if the number is bigger than 100, so do something X. And if the number is smaller than 100, do Y. So these are ifs. You have loops. These are all principles or actions that are similar to actions in the programming world. Then you have scripting, which basically allows you to add Python, PowerShell scripts, JavaScript, etc. Then you have UI automations that basically allows you to automate different UI on your screen, and also automate web browser automation. So basically you can go to Facebook, click on a specific profile, then click like on his recent post, then send him a friend request. So this can be done via UI automation. You have Excel automations. You can manipulate Excel, launch Excel, add content to Excel files, read Excel files, remove stuff from an Excel file, etc. You have emails, which is basically sending out and receiving emails, analyzing emails, etc. And OCR, sending mouse and keyboard clicks. There are a ton of actions. I highly recommend that you check everything out later on. We will cover the essentials in a moment as soon as we start doing the examples. But this is how the actions pane look like. And this is the actual flow. So as you can see, they have a comment here. Comment is just an explanation for yourself or for anyone who is reading the flow later on, a reminder. And then you have the if, which is a condition. We have the else and the end. So this is just a simple example. Over here, you can add breakpoints for debugging. Let's say your flow is broken, you can just add a breakpoint. This is a breakpoint, which basically means that as soon as you start running the flow, when the flow encounters a breakpoint, it's going to pause. And in that moment of pausing, you will be able to analyze the status of all the components. And then based on this analysis, you can define or decide if there anything is missing or what is the reason for the error. That's pretty much it with regards to how this looks like. We will cover more in details in a moment. Let's not save this. Let's go back to my flows. Let's create a new flow. YouTube demo form. So we are creating a new flow, and basically the first flow, let's see if I covered everything that I wanted to cover. So loops, conditions, regions. This is also something important I forgot to mention. It just helps you organize the flow. So let's say you have different parts of the flow, and when you come to analyze it, you would like to see different regions. So one region would be like a browser automation region. The other region would be an Excel manipulation region, and another region would be generating outputs. So you just define new regions, and it's just a cosmetic or formatting thing that you can use in order to make things well structured and easier for the eye. It is mostly relevant when you start creating huge flows. It's not so relevant at the moment, but if you want to create good habits, I suggest using regions from the get-go. Now, another thing that is important to understand, and now we're kind of entering the nitty-gritty, is recording. What you can do, you can record actions in your web browser, and then these actions are going to be created automatically in the flow. So you will be able to automatically conduct these actions by a click of the button. So the first example that I want to show you guys is a form filling flow, and we are going to do this together. Let's remove this data. Okay, so this is a simple form. It's a Google form, and I will share with you the link. And basically our goal here in this flow is to fill out the form. So we need to fill what is our email, what is our name, which operating system are we using, what is the stock price of NVIDIA today, and what is the weather today in our hometown. And here we will have an if, and in this section we will use scraping. Okay, so whenever we approach an automation, we first kind of need to figure out, okay, what exactly are we going to build, which tools can we use, and kind of do the architecture of the whole automation. So here, I guess when we fill out the name, we just need to click this automatically and fill out our email and fill out our name. Then we have this radio button, which we need to select the relevant operating system based on what we're actually using. Then we have this field, which we need to fill the stock price of NVIDIA today. And we are going to do this by going into Yahoo Finances, scraping Yahoo Finances, and then adding the answer. And then we are being asked, what is the weather today in our hometown? And here we are going to go to Google, look for the weather today, scrape the weather today. Then based on the degrees, we are going to sort out if it's below 0, these are Celsius degrees, or between 0 to 30 or 30 plus. Okay, so a simple way to get started is just to record all the moves and filling this out manually, just so we have a template of what we need, and then we can adjust the template. So we can do this by clicking the recorder. Now, since we already added the Microsoft Power Automate Desktop Chrome extension, we have it right here, and we can start recording. So I'm going to hit the record button, and as soon as I start recording, you will see that Microsoft Power Automate is going to recall or write down or take note of my actions. So record, input text, Yaron Been. You can see Microsoft Power Automate highlights the field that we are on. Next. Oh, sorry. This is going to be yaron.been@gmail.com. And over here, since I did a mistake, I want to correct this, so I can just delete these because I only want to populate text field in web page. This is the first one. Then the next one is Yaron Been, my name field. Then I want to click on the relevant checkbox. So let's click on this one. Then I want to click on this one as well. And as you can see over here, I'm collecting the data of each one of these. Then I want to fill the stock price of NVIDIA. So let's say it is 14. I don't even know, I don't remember. And then I want to click on all of these. This one, and this one. As soon as I am done, I've kind of collected all the relevant stuff, at least from this page. I hit the done button. And now we can see the whole flow over here. So you see start of auto-generated actions using the recorder and the end of auto-generated actions using the recorder. And we have an error over here. This is the error list. Basically, we have all the errors listed down here. And what they are saying basically is that we don't have any browser open. So, and if you don't know what is the error, what you can do, you can just click this and just copy it, go to Google and find a question that someone asked about this error, and this will probably give you like an understanding of what you need to fix. In this case, what we need to fix is we need to launch a Chrome browser. So what I did right now, I just wrote here Chrome. I'm going to launch a new Chrome. And this is basically the first time that we see this screen. This screen is an input field, or they are collecting inputs regarding the action that we want to conduct. In this case, it is launching a new Chrome extension. So over here, we have the launch mode. So we can decide if we want to launch a new instance, a new browser, or attach to a running instance. Basically, if we already have a specific Chrome extension running, we can just attach it to it. If you're not sure about what is necessary over here, you can use this. Just click on the more info button, and it will forward you to the documentation, to the relevant part. What exactly do you need to add, which type of values, etc. Or you can also click on this tooltip, which is basically going to give you more information. So the initial URL, in this case, which is the URL that we want to open up. So let's open up this form. So this is the initial URL. And then the window state is, do we want to open the Chrome browser in normal state, minimized or maximized? Let's maximize it. Over here, the advanced stuff, it's not relevant at the moment, but you can make sure that you clear the cache, you can clear the cookies, and you can wait for the page to load. And then you give this a name. So you decide the name, browser, form. So this is basically going to be the name of the browser. Over here, you have an error handling section. Basically, if you have an error, you can, in this specific action, you can decide whether or not you want the automation to pause, or would you like to continue with the flow and skip this specific part. And you also have like more advanced stuff. We won't cover this at the moment. So these are the parameters. We decided this is going to be the name of the browser instance, and it's going to open up over here. So now we still have these red errors notifications because we need to change the name of the browser to this one, okay? Because over here, the web browser instance is supposed to be browser form. Let's change all of these. And it wouldn't have happened if we would have created this action before, but I don't mind because I'm happy to show you also like the mistakes that I'm doing, because this is the best way to learn. So let's remove this for a second. Okay, browser form. And as you can see over here, since although we recorded, Microsoft Power Automate already decided like the most relevant action for us, and also filled out all the parameters. So what is the UI element that we are going to click, where exactly are we going to click, and what is the text that we are going to send. And in the advanced section, we can also decide if the field isn't empty, if we want to replace the text, or if we want to append the text. So basically, if I already have a name in that specific field, I can decide if I want to completely remove it and override it, or just to add the text. Over here, you can decide if you want to populate the text using physical keystrokes or without using physical keystrokes. And there are a few more advanced stuff that I don't want to cover at the moment. Now, let's see an example. So let's close this. And once, obviously I suggest saving all the time, but once you hit the run button, the flow is going to automatically start running. So let's hit the run button. No hands, launching the Chrome, going to the form, filling out, clicking Linux, then clicking Windows, then clicking Mac, then writing 142, then clicking all of these. Okay, that's the end of the flow. Now, what I want to do at the moment is I usually like having everything very organized. And since we started the recording, now we have these actions. And what we want to do, we want to give them specific names and making sure that all the selectors are relevant. Now, what are selectors? Basically, selectors are UI components that we are clicking. And as you can see here, we are clicking different buttons in the form. And what we want to do is we want to rename these, because afterwards it is going to be, we are going to have a ton of buttons in the flow, and it's a good practice to have like naming conventions around the flows and around the selector, so we won't forget and we won't have a big mess. So let's go one by one. So input text. So this is the first input text. Let's call it button, because this is a button. Name. So this is the button that we are collecting the name. And this is the button that we are collecting the email. So button email. Let's see, what is this button? So we can see here, this is the checkbox button of Linux. If you're not sure, and this is like the most, I guess it's one of the most important aspects of automation, is figuring out what are the correct selectors. You can always click here, go to the edit, and over here you have information about the selector. I know it might seem scary and technical, but it is not. And as I said, it's a very crucial aspect of the game. So what you can do over here, you can test. Click this, and then it will automatically, then you decide which browser instance you want to test. And basically what I did here, it is going to highlight to me the selector that is relevant here. So as you can see here, it showed me the selector, which is the Linux selector over here. And this is a great way, although I could have figured this out based on this text, this is a great way for reminding yourself which button are we talking about. So let's rename this as well, button Linux. Now let's see, so this is button Windows. I can see based on this W, button Windows. Let's see, this is button Mac. as you can see over here, button Mac. Now input text free. I don't remember what exactly it is, so I hit the edit button. Let's do test, and it will highlight the relevant input field. So this is the stock price of NVIDIA. So input, let's say button NVIDIA. Let's see what is div 5, div 4, sorry, div 4, I believe it is below 0. So yes, let's see, below 0. Rename button below 0. And this is button 0 to 30. And we are missing one button, so let's add this one button. So what we can do here is just copy and paste. We click Control C, Control V, and we just need to adjust the selector. So we can come here, open selector builder. We click this, and as you can see here, we can make adjustments over here. What we can do here, we can click the repair, and this takes us back here, and we can reselect the relevant element. So this is the element that we want now. So this is done. This was a mistake. I replaced this. So just to clarify what I did now, instead of creating a new UI element and changing the selector, I replaced our current selector, which means that this button will now be from button 30 plus. And now what we have missing is a button for the 0 to 30. So what I decided to do now, instead of copying and pasting and possibly making another mistake, I see that the action that was generated automatically by Power Automate Recorder was click link on web page. So I'm going to come here, click link on web page. I'm just going to paste it over here. The web browser instance is browser form. This is correct. And now I need to add another UI element. So add UI element. And I'm just going to click this UI element. And there you go. I've added this over here, and let's just rename this button 0 to 30. Okay, so now we have all the UI elements. We have the button of the email, the button of the name, the button of the for Linux, Windows, Mac, NVIDIA, below 0, 30 plus, and 0 to 30. Okay, now where do we get the data from? We need to create the variables, and we also need to pull the relevant content of the variables. I mean, for the name and email, we already have the content. These are our names and the emails, but we don't know what is the NVIDIA stock price, and we don't know what is the weather today. So we are going to create variables for all of these. So at the beginning, we are going to do set variable, and let's give these names that are descriptive. So every time you write a text, every time you have a string, so basically you have this naming convention in which you write text, and then what is going to be in this variable. So text email, and the value is going to be Yaron Been at gmail.com. Then we want to create another variable, text, and this is going to be the email. So let's write yb@gmail.com. What else do we need? We want to know if we are using, which platform we are using. So set text platform, no, text operating system, and this could be, let's say, Microsoft. This would be like the default. What else do we need? We need the NVIDIA stock price, and we need the weather. So setting variable, text, NVIDIA. It's actually going to be an integer, which is going to be a number. So NVIDIA stock price, let's say 0. And then we are going to set the weather. So int degrees. And this is 0 as well. So we initialized all the variables. Let's make this very clean and tidy. Let's create a region. Variables init. So this is the initialization of variables. This has no effect on the actual flow. It's just a formatting thing. It's just for the sake of making things well organized. If we want to keep also things organized, we can also add a comment. This is also an internal comment. Initialization init of variables for filling the form. This is one comment. We can also add a comment over here for the whole flow. This flow fills out a form based on user data. Just obviously this can be more comprehensive, but this is just for the sake of example. Okay, so what do we have missing? Let's take a look. We have this form. We already have the email. We have the name. We have the operating system, but we need to click on the correct button. Now we also need to fetch the NVIDIA stock price, and we also need to fetch the weather today. So what we are going to do, let's start out by fetching the NVIDIA stock price. We will do so by going to Yahoo Finance and scraping the NVIDIA stock price today. So how we are going to do this? We are going to create another Chrome browser. So launch Chrome. We are going to create a window which is maximized. Let's see exactly what is the links that we need. Yahoo Finance. So this is the links that we would like to open. Let me close this. You are going to paste this over here, browser, and then you change the name of this browser just so you will remember internally. So browser Yahoo. And now what we want to do, we want to go to Yahoo Finance, go to the search bar, add NVIDIA, click the button for searching NVIDIA, and then scraping NVIDIA. So we can create a subflow for this, but for the sake of simplifying stuff, we won't create a subflow. But what I want to do is I want to record these actions. So let's open this browser just to show you. I'm going to open this browser and I'm going to use the recorder again. Recorder. And we have Yahoo Finance. We want to add here NVIDIA. Click this. Okay, so we start the recording. Record. We come here. We make sure that we are hovering above the correct UI element. We click this and we write NVIDIA. Now we want to click this. So as you can see, we clicked the correct, we sent the text NVIDIA and we click the button, and now we are in the correct NVIDIA page. So let's click done. Okay, so these are the actions that are being taken in the Yahoo Finance page. First of all, before we move forward, I want to make sure that everything is well organized. Let me remove this. This is the recorder created a new Chrome instance, which we don't want. We just want to use this browser. And I'm adjusting this because we must define the correct browser instance, browser Yahoo. And now we have no errors. But what we want to do now is adjust the selectors so we will remember them. So this is the Yahoo Finance element that we are filling out the NVIDIA, the text of NVIDIA. So we can see this by clicking test. Let's come here. This might throw an error. No, it doesn't throw an error. As you can see, it highlighted the element of the search. So let's call this search Yahoo. Perhaps button search Yahoo. And this is the button of sending the search. It's also with the Yahoo page. So button send Yahoo search. Okay, so now what we have here, we have the opening of the Yahoo Finances, and we have sending NVIDIA to the search bar, and then clicking the button. So let's drag all of these elements. We can drag them down, or we can copy and paste them, or we can cut and paste them. Let's cut and paste them before the population of the text of NVIDIA. So let's paste them over here. And okay, now let's keep everything well organized. So let's create a region, Yahoo Finance. This is the region. We are going to close the region over here. Now what we have missing, we already entered the NVIDIA page. All we need now is to pull the relevant information from NVIDIA page. And this is going to be browser extraction or scraping. So what we want to do now is we go here and we want to pull this 131. And we do this by the extraction action. So you write here extract data from web page, and let's drag it to the relevant part. We are going to drag it over here, and we are choosing the web browser instance, which is browser Yahoo, and we are going to store the variable produced over here. So let's call it text NVIDIA stock price. And now what we have to do, we actually need to fetch the data. So we are doing so by just going to Chrome. And once we go to Chrome, you will see this open up, and also you will have this yellow highlight all over. Whenever you point on something, it will open up. Now, let's say that this is the element that we would like. We click the right click button, and then we have different options that we can extract. We can extract the value or the metadata or different attributes depending on the type of the text or the element. In this case, what we want to do, we want to extract this text. So all I have to do is click here, text, and then finish. And basically what we have now is the extraction of this NVIDIA stock price. Now let's see if it is working. We can see if it is working by going to the variables in a moment after we conduct a primary run of this flow, and we will see the correct stock price in the variables. Now let's close this down. Let's save, and it's a good practice to save this all the time save, because otherwise if something happens and you didn't save, you're going to be very disappointed. So let's run this flow and see what is our current state. So launching automatically the form, filling the form, clicking Linux, Windows, Mac, then opening automatically Yahoo Finances, NVIDIA, sending the... Okay, so as you can see here, and this was expected, it automatically filled the recent number because we didn't adjust the number from, we didn't make sure that we adjust the variable. So basically what I wanted to see here is, first of all, understand the status and see if this text was extracted correctly. How do I do so? I come here to the variable section and I go to text NVIDIA stock price, which is right here, and you double click this and you see the result. So text NVIDIA stock price, this is the number. As you can see, it is correct. Now what we want to do, we want to populate this because we don't want 142. 142 was just the default variable that I chose. So I'm going to remove this. I'm going to click this, and now I can select what variable I want to show over here, or which is the variable that I would like to populate. So it is called text NVIDIA stock price. Double click, save, and we are good to go. Now let's let this run again and let's see if it conducted the adjustment correctly. So instead of 142, we want to scrape the stock price again, and we want to make sure that this is what is being populated in the form. So now it is writing the email, the first name, selecting the operating system. We will figure this out later. Now it is opening Yahoo Finance, NVIDIA, collecting 131, and as you can see, it is filling this out correctly. Let's pause this. Okay, let's pause the flow. Okay, now if we want to do another test, what happens if we write Microsoft? Let's see what happens if we write Microsoft in the search bar. Let's do Microsoft. And now let's save again. And I just want to show you how this, once you build this correctly, it is very easy to adjust stuff. And obviously in the future, you don't need to hard code even the stock price, but just for the sake of the example, let's see what happens if we added Microsoft instead of NVIDIA. Filling out the form again. And imagine that you had now like an Excel, a database full of this data. It can totally, like very fast, automate your work and replace many of your workers. So Microsoft collecting 442.57, and as you can see, it was that simple and it is good to go. We're good to go. Now let's write NVIDIA again. So what do we have missing at the moment? I'm asking myself, and you ask yourself as well. We fill the form with the correct NVIDIA data, and now we want to collect the weather. And how we are going to do so? We are going to use Google for this. And what we basically want to do, we want to go to Google, weather today, extract the data, which is pretty similar to what we did here. And then we want to figure out if we are below 0 degrees, between 0 to 30, or more than 30. And based on this, we will click the relevant button in the form. So first thing first, let's create another instance. Let's create another region, first of all, to make things organized. The region. Let's call this weather region. And what we want to do here, again, if you want, perhaps pause this video and think about how you would automate this. based on what we just learned. What we want to do first is launch a new Chrome. So we can copy this and paste it here. And let's launch google.com. Afterwards, let's click. Let's start a recorder, it would be easier because I want to show you how you can use clicking afterwards, but for now, let's start with the recorder. So google.com. Now, let's start recording. Record. We are here. And let's write weather today. And then we click the enter button. As you can see here, it opened the new Chrome. It filled out, it populated the text search area, and it sent the return button, which is basically enter. Now we hit the done because we have all the actions that we would like. First thing first, we want to organize the UI elements. Make sure that we are well organized all the time, otherwise it can be a shitstorm. So text, just let's change this button. Google search. Okay. So let's see what we have here. So what we have here, and as you can see again, there is this error because it doesn't know which browser it needs to be attached to, because I didn't change the browser name here. I forgot to change the browser name. Let's change this to browser Google. Save. Now over here, we want to change to browser Google. This is what we are going to send, weather today. Then it automatically will wait. And the wait function is very important. You will see later on, you can define specific waits between actions. Let's say we want to wait 5 seconds. Then we send the key, which is the enter button. Now what we want to do is we have this weather, and we want to extract the weather. So again, we are going to extract data from web page. We come here, extract data. Web browser instance is browser Google. We open Google app and we select this. As you can see here, you choose 31. Finish. And the variable produced, let's call it text degrees. Okay, great. Now, what we need to do is, first of all, we want to convert the text to a number, because afterwards we want to make the condition of figuring out if it's below 0 or above 30 or between. So what we do here is number, you write number, and you have this option of converting text to number. So you drag this, you select what is the text that you would like to convert. You can click here, and then we said text degrees. This is the text that we would like to convert, and we would like to convert it to integer degrees. Okay, so we did the conversion, and what we want to do next is we want to select the correct button based on the amount of degrees. So we want to create a condition. If conditionals, if you drag this over here, and what we are checking is if the degrees, so let's write degrees, select in degrees. Let's say if it's below, if it's less than 0, what we want to do is click the button below 0. Now, if it's I just copied and paste this because the next case is if it's between 0 to 30. So if it's greater than 0, what we want to do is we want to check if it is below 30. So let's do another if. This is called a nested if, because basically we want to figure out, okay, we know this isn't below 0, but it might be above 30. So what we're going to do here is, again, degrees, and we want to figure out if it's greater than 30. We are going to click this button, and if it is not greater than 30, it means it is between 0 to 30, so we want to click this. Now, let me just validate that I'm doing this correctly. So if it's below 0, it's going to come here. Otherwise, if it's above 0, it is going to check whether or not it's above 30. If it's above 30, it is going to click the button of the 30 plus. And if it's below, it is going to click the button of the 0 to 30. Now we can remove this, and I think we are good to go. Let me just make sure that everything seems fine. In degrees. Okay, I have this which is incorrect. There is a typo. Okay, now we are good to go. Okay, let's see what happens now. Let's remove all of this. And now we are expecting to fill the correct amount of degrees and the NVIDIA stock price. Let's see if it happens as we expected. So save. And we are going to run. Let's see if we have an error. Yes, we have an error. In degrees doesn't exist. Okay, so we are dragging this error because I had this typo. So let's just fix this. I am removing the double S and I'm adding an E instead. As you can see, the error log below is adjusting itself and all errors are removed. Now I save. And let's hit the run button and see if this is working out as expected. Okay, opening the form, adding the email, adding the name, selecting the operating system, clicking on all of them. I will skip this because it's not important so much. Now, looking for the NVIDIA stock price, collecting the NVIDIA stock price, filling it out. Now going to Google, weather today, clicking the enter button within 5 seconds because we have the weight. Collecting the 31, hopefully. Going back. Okay, so this was a mistake. This isn't what we wanted. It did 30, although it was 31. Okay, this is great. This is an opportunity to fix and figure out what went wrong. Okay, so how I figure out what went wrong? First of all, I go to the variables. And since we are checking degrees, we want to see what is the amount of degrees that we have here. So we have 31. So this should be fine. So int degrees is above 30. So why did it press this? Okay, I know why did it press this, because if what happens here, the logic, I did the logic incorrectly. So basically, as you can see, it checks if the degrees are above 0, which is correct. Then it checks if the degrees are above 31. which is correct. It clicks this button, but then it also clicks this button because I didn't add an else. So basically what I need to do is add an else, because we want that in this case, if it clicks here, we don't want it to come here as well. So what we can do, this is also something very important that I didn't expect to share with you, but it is valuable. So we add a skip. So a skip is our way to skip different elements in the flow. So what we can do here is add a label. Basically, let's say skip degrees. This is just a random name. And in case it clicks this, I want it to skip directly to here. I don't want it to click here. So what I want to do, I created this label, and I also take this from the flow control and I add it here. And I click skip degrees. Basically what this will do is, as soon as it does this action, it is going to directly skip over here, come here. So it's not going to click this button as well. I hope this is clear. This is just one way of solving it. There are different ways to solve it with nested ifs or if and else, but this is a very powerful way to use, like the go-to and skipping to a label. Now let's do this again. Let's run this automation again. We are going to run it and let's see what happens. A different way to debug this is, obviously you can add, and I will show you in a moment, comments, like message boxes that will show you exactly what is currently happening in the flow, and this will help you understand what went wrong, but I will show you in a moment. So let's just see if it is doing this correctly. So weather today, scraping the 31, hopefully, because since I'm doing this live, I'm always like, I hope this will work out. Okay, so 30 plus, amazing, exactly what we expected. So this is great. Now, what we could have done as well is added this message box, display message. So if you're not sure about where exactly are you in the flow and you want just some validation, so you can have a display message over here, and you can write the degrees or above 30. And this is more for debugging. You don't want to have it like during the flow. If it's attended or unattended, it doesn't matter. But this is mainly for me. I want to see if I'm landing over here or if I'm skipping this logic. So one way is adding this display message. And if we add this display message, you will see in a moment that is just going to show the message of the degrees are above 30. Feeling NVIDIA. Correct stock. Weather today. Waiting 5 seconds. Extracting 31. And the degrees are above 30. Only when we hit the OK button is going to keep on doing the flow. And we are good to go. Okay, so let's remove this. Another way of doing this is adding this breakpoint, which basically means it will pause when it comes to this stage of the flow. And then you can take a look at all the variables and see exactly what is the content of each variable. Okay, now let's save this. And I think this flow is already good to go. Let's see if there is anything that we would like to adjust or fix. I think we are good to go. I decided to skip the element of selecting which operating system we have. Okay, maybe not, maybe not. You know what? Let's do this. Let's do something cool. So input dialog, So display input dialog. Which operating system are you using? So we will actually ask the customer which operating system are they using. OS selection. And the default value will be Microsoft. It doesn't really matter. And we can have input type, single line, keep, okay, and then Microsoft, Mac, or Linux. And the user input will be, let's say, text operating system used by user. And as you can see here, what will happen, let's add a breakpoint because I don't want to do this again from the get-go, but I just want to show you this option of collecting input from the customer or the user or the person who is running the automation. So we are going to create the Chrome, open the Chrome. Now we have this operating system selection. So let's write Linux. We hit the OK button. Now we have a breakpoint here, so the flow isn't running, but you can see over here, the name of the variable that was produced is text operating system used by user. I can come here and you can see it is Linux. Now, if I would like to select the Linux button, I can just create a condition like this. Just instead of 0 to 30 and 30 above, you say if text operating system used by user is Linux, click the Linux button. If it is Microsoft, click the Microsoft button. And if it is Mac, click the Mac button. And as you remember, we have these buttons over here. So this perhaps can be like something that you do on your own in order just to see if you're understood this correctly. And yeah, I think this would be cool actually that you guys do this on your own. Now let's move forward with the tutorial. What do we have next? Let's see what I wanted to share with you. I hope I didn't close all the relevant windows. Okay, yeah, by the way, I forgot to mention that you can also close the browser, and this is a good practice to close the browser after you finish. So close window or close web browser, depending on the specific case. Now we save this and we have this automation. Now we cover this. Now let's cover the second example. The second example is going to show you how you can do like clicking on elements one by one instead of using the recorder, which is a bit more advanced, and I think it is more powerful at the end of the day. And also how you can loop through contacts and how you can send an email using Outlook. So if you don't have Outlook, download Outlook and just create a free account. This is where you create a free account. By the way, I wanted to mention, but I didn't, I forgot, that while Microsoft Power Automate is by Microsoft, it is the most helpful and powerful tool. Even if you don't have Microsoft installed, I definitely suggest, assuming that you need automations, that you find a solution for this. And what I usually suggest is just creating a VPS. VPS is a virtual private server in which you just have like your own computer in the cloud. It costs between 10 to 30 bucks per month. And then you can just install Microsoft operating system in the cloud and create flows and run them automatically. For this, I recommend using Ionix. Let me see, I had it over here. Ionix, yes. So this is also how you run flows unattended. This is my affiliate link. If you use the affiliate link, I think it will give you some sort of a discount. So if you don't have Microsoft operating system, You should still consider using Microsoft Power Automate for your automations. Do this using Hayonix, which is, in my opinion, the best VPS. Okay, going back to the examples. So what we are going to do here, we are going to download this spreadsheet. After you download it, please populate it with your emails and your names. And we are just going to practice the automation of sending an email to yourself or to any other address that you would like using a loop. Okay, so let's see what we want to do. So we have this link. I will share it in the description. And you want to create a new flow. You come here. Let's close this flow. Let's call this demo YouTube email. We will open the flow. And what we want to do now is, first of all, open the browser. So we come here. I'm doing this a bit faster now. If you're not sure about anything, yeah, obviously watch this slower and feel free to ask any questions. So we launch a new instance. The initial URL is going to be the URL of the Google spreadsheet. So I'm going to copy it and paste it over here. The Windows state is going to be maximized. Browser is Google Sheet. Okay, so this will open the Google spreadsheet automatically. Let's hit the run button and see what happens. Yes, Google spreadsheet was opened. Okay, now what we want to do, we want to download this as an Excel. So you can either record the movements or you can do this click by click. So I want to show you how you do this click by click. So click UI element on the window, and then you come here, add UI element, and you select this file. You wait until when you hover over the element, you see like that the relevant element is being highlighted, and you click the control, and you also click the right button, the left button in the mouse, sorry. So as you can see here, this has selected the UI element. We can verify this over here. I went to the selectors and then here, and as you can see, menu item file. So based on this data, I assume that it is figured this out correctly. This is the correct selector. We can test this as well. So you saw it highlighted the relevant button. Let's change the button name. So button file. Now what we want to do, we want to click on another button, and the next button is going to be the download one. So we want to add a new UI element. We want to come here, file, download. And as you can see here, this is a bit tricky because Power Automate Desktop doesn't highlight the elements that we want it to highlight. So sometimes you need to move around a bit. Hover about the specific element. There are also other ways which are more advanced to figure this out, but I want to show you like this way as well. So I'm trying to see why it doesn't capture my download, like the download button. So let's see if I click this, what happens. So it didn't select what I wanted. It only selected like the whole section, which is called menu. So my alternatives are as follows. So first of all, I can use the recorder, and I don't start recording yet because I don't want to record this click because I already have this click recorded. So I click here, and only now I click the record button. This didn't work. This is a bit you know, this is a bit more like trial and error. But what I did here in this case, I just started recording, and now I select this, and you can see over here it was collected correctly, and I want to click this button, which is the Microsoft Excel. I'm going to click this. Now I have all these actions. Obviously, this was already downloaded now because I downloaded the button. I downloaded this spreadsheet. Now I can clean this up over here. So I don't want this. I don't want the clicking on the file because I already have the clicking on the file. I do want the clicking on the download. I don't want the clicking on the file because I did this twice. And I do want this, which is the clicking of the Microsoft Excel. I have all the elements, all the clicks, all the actions that I want, and I just click the done. Okay, now we have again this error because it doesn't know which browser is relevant. We just need to change the browser name, browser Google Sheet, and then over here as well, browser Google Sheet. Now we want to change the names of the selectors. So button download and button Excel download. Okay, so now let's see if it is working. Basically what we are expecting to see, opening up of the Google spreadsheet, clicking the button of the file, then clicking the button of download, and then clicking the Excel download because we want to download the Excel. I want you to have this Excel running locally, make the adjustments on your end, and then we will do some magic with the automation of sending emails. So let's just run this and see what happens. Opening Google Sheet, clicking the file, clicking download, and it is supposed to click the Microsoft Excel, but it doesn't seem to be clicking. And this is great because it's a great opportunity for us to mess around with selectors. So let's see. It says that it doesn't find the element. So let's try to figure out why it doesn't find the element. What comes to mind is, first of all, that the selector is incorrect. And the second alternative is because that Microsoft Power Automate is operating so fast, perhaps that element wasn't visible yet when it wanted to click it, because you guys see over here, you click here and it takes like a fraction of a second for this to open up. So what we can add a short wait. Let's wait for 2 seconds just to see. Let's do this again, see if it fixes this. I'm guessing it won't fix it, but let's just make sure. So it's going to click the file, this should be okay. Then it is going to click the download, it's going to be okay, but it doesn't find the Excel. Oh wait, it might find Excel. I was too quick, I was too fast. I'm faster than the automation actually. But so let's do this again. Launch new Chrome. Click the UI element of the file. Download. Waiting for 2 seconds. And nothing happened. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to figure out if the selector is correct. So let's click here and test. So we want to test. This is what we want to do. It didn't find the selector. So this is more advanced, but let's do this anyway. What you want to do is try to figure out what is the correct selector for that specific button. So you have a few options. First of all, trying to figure out what is the correct selector using the inspect, like the Chrome inspection F12, and trying to inspect the correct element. Another alternative is moving the cursor automatically based on the image. But the most the easiest way in this case would be just to send a keystroke. So once we click download, we can send a keystroke of pressing the downwards arrow and then pressing enter. This isn't a robust solution because it might break, but it is the easiest solution. And let's test it out because it is actually useful for you guys to know. So we want to send a key. We already clicked the download, but we are not unable to click this Microsoft Excel. So what we do, we come here, send keys. So send keys, and what we want to send is a downward arrow. So we insert a modifier. Sorry, we insert an arrow key down, and then we want to send an enter key. So this is the return enter. Okay, so basically what we have now, launching the Chrome, clicking the button of the file, clicking the button of download, sending a keystroke of the arrow down, and then sending an enter. Hopefully it will start downloading the Excel file. So launching the new Chrome. Going to the file, download, clicking the downwards arrow, hopefully, yes, and started to download over here, as you can see. Okay, this was solved pretty easy, not elegant, not robust, but it's something that you should know and be aware of. Now, what we want to do is we want to open this Excel, and I want you guys to adjust the Excel and write your emails over here. YB just adding my emails, adding my name, YB1, YB2, and I'm going to save, and let's copy the path. So we want to copy the location of this file. So copy path, copy as path. Okay, now we want to open an Excel instance. So you click here, you write Excel, launch Excel, and you can decide if you want to start with a blank document or open an existing document. So we want to open an existing document, and this is the existing document that we would like to open, and we want to make the instance visible. We want to see the Excel file. So let's do this. Now, since I don't want to run all of these actions now, because we already did this many times, and I just want to see if it opens the Excel, what I can do is I can select all of these by clicking on this, holding the shift button, clicking on this again, then right click, disable action, and this is going to gray out these actions and basically skip them. So now let's run this automation and see. All it has to do is launch the Excel. Launching the Excel. And it says that it failed to open. This might be because of these. Let's see, I don't think we need these. The quotation marks, I don't think that we need them. Let's make sure. Yes, okay. So as you can see, automatically open the Excel file. Now, so this region was just for download spreadsheet. What you can do here is we can just move this to a subflow. So download spreadsheet. You can copy or Control X, cut this and paste it here. And then if you want to run this, this is the main flow. So you come here, you write flow, and you write run subflow. and the subflow you want to run is download spreadsheet. And this is how you keep everything well organized. Instead of having like a huge chunk of many actions in the main flow, you can just have this run subflow, which will come to this flow and conduct all these actions. So let's enable these actions. Now, we launched the Excel, and we have the Excel which contains emails. Now let's fetch these emails. So what we want to do, we want to create a loop that loops over all the rows of the Excel and just fetches the emails. So we can come here, we write loop, and we want to start from 0 to 1, increment by 1. So we want to start in actually from the first row to the second one, and we increment by 1, and this is the loop index. And what we want to do, we want to read the data of the cell. So we write here read, and then read from Excel worksheet. And over here, we need to select which value we want to import to the flow. So the value of a single cell. The starting column is column number 1. And the starting row, we want this to be dynamic because we want to loop over all the elements. So the starting row isn't going to be 1 or 0 or 2. It's going to be dynamic. It's going to be based on the loop index. So loop index and Excel data, and the variable produced is Excel data email of user. Okay, and now I want to run this and see what happens. I'm going to disable this because it is irrelevant at the moment. So what I'm expecting now is to launch the Excel and then read the value of the first row of the first column. And we are expecting to see it over here, Excel data email of user. So let's do run. It will launch an Excel, and basically it has the Excel data email over here. So this is the Excel data, and as you can see, this is the last. Wait, let me see what happened here. This is YB email. We actually wanted this as well. Yes, so okay, this is great. Something to understand about the columns and the rows. So I added 1 and 2 instead of 2 and 3, and this is why this is incorrect. So we want to loop from number 2 to number 3 because the second row is actually the first row because the first row is the headers. So let's do this again, and now we're expecting to have the support at EcomXFactor email over here because this is the last cell that we are reading. Let's do this again. Launching Excel. As you can see, support at EcomXFactor. Okay, great. Now, what we want to do, we want to send an email to each one of these. So in the loop, because this loop, all the actions that are in this loop are actions that are going to be taken on each of the rows in the Excel file. So for every email, we are going to send, for every element in the database or in this Excel, we are going to send an email. So we are going to launch Outlook. Just leave it like this, default Outlook instance. Then we are going to send email message for Outlook. We drag it to here. Now, the Outlook instance is the default Outlook instance. The account is also default, so you don't need to change anything. Then you are requested or required to add who are you going to send this to. So the 2 column is the Excel data email of user. So we are going to add it here. The subject can be random subject. This is just for the sake of testing. And body text also. You can adjust this obviously, but this is just for the sake of example. So we save account. We need to add your Outlook account. So in my case, it's Yaron Been at outlook.com. And let's close the Excel. You must make sure that Excel is, every time you launch a new instance or a new automation, you must make sure that all the relevant, that there are no conflicts, that Excel is actually closed. This is something that is a very common mistake that people are doing. So I close the Excel. Now it is going to launch the Excel again. It's going to launch Outlook, and it's going to automatically send emails to each one of these guys. So as you saw, let's go to the sent items. So you can see sent to YB and sent to support at EcomXFactor, body text, random subject. Okay, pretty simple, pretty straightforward. I think this is what I wanted to show you with regards to also covering Excel and also sending emails. Obviously, there are a lot of stuff that can be optimized, a lot more stuff that you can do, manipulation, stuff like this, but just for getting started, understanding the abilities, this is enough. Now let's cover a few more things. So let's see what I wanted to share with you guys. Okay, so we covered the second example. Now a few more things. How to copy flows. If you want to copy a flow, what you can do, there is no native way to copy flows in Microsoft Power Automate Desktop, the free version. So, but there is a workaround. What you can do is you can copy, Control A, Control C, and then go to Notepad. And then paste into Notepad. This is the text of the flow. And then if you want to paste this in a new flow, you just Control A, Control C, and you go to a flow and you just paste it here like this. You can also open a new flow and paste it. So basically the workaround for copying or cloning flows is using Notepad, copying the text from a Notepad, pasting it into Notepad, and then copying from Notepad into a new flow. Next, how to use Power Automate with OpenAI. Okay, so if you want to use OpenAI, you can obviously use it doing an API call from Power Automate, and this is very powerful. I've built a flow in which I scrape Facebook profiles of prospects and I generate an personalized outreach message based on their recent post. And I used OpenAI for this. And if you want to do this, you use this action, invoke web service. You add the URL, which is API openai.com v1 chat completions. The method is going to be post. Then application JSON. Then you write this authorization, the bearer, and the API key, and then the request body. In this case, I have the role, which is you are a helpful assistant, you enjoy going to the gym, you are a father, you love marketing and automation. This is the role I have assigned to the OpenAI bot. And what I'm requesting of him is write a personalized message to the prospect based on his bio. Look for commonalities between yourself and the prospect. Here is his bio. He is a horse rider, digital marketer, and father of 4 boys. So this is basically the API request I'm making for OpenAI. This is just an example. I will share with you. I can share with you if you guys are interested. Just let me know. I will share with you like this code, excluding the API key. But let me show you how it looks like. Basically, doing this API call. It is invoking the request, and we can see over here the GPT outreach, which is basically the response. So after we got the response, we converted the JSON to a custom object, and then we are showing this custom object over here in GPT outreach. So this is what OpenAI produced based on my prompt. So, hey there, it's great to connect with a fellow father and digital marketer like yourself. I see we share passion for marketing, and I noticed you're a horse rider too, which is amazing. The dedication and perseverance it takes to master horse riding resonates with the same commitment we put into our marketing strategies, don't you think? If you ever want to chat about marketing, automation, or even share some dad jokes, I'm here. Let's swap stories and insights, blah, blah, blah. This is just an example of how to use OpenAI in your flow. Okay, next. How to use scripting in Power Automate Desktop. So this is also an important concept. You can use Python scripts or JavaScripts in Power Automate. So scripting. You just copy here, run Python script, and you just add the Python script over here. You decide what is the Python version you would like to use, and that's pretty much it. If you're not sure, what you can do is you can go to OpenAI, to the chat, and ask it a question, or you can use Windows Copilot. So Copilot, how do I use Python in Microsoft Power Automate Desktop? And it will give you guidance. To use Python in Power Automate Desktop, you can follow these steps. Open Power Automate Desktop, create a new flow or edit an existing one, add a run Python script action to your flow, write your Python code directly or specify the path to your Python script, configure any input or output parameters, save and run your flow to execute the Python script. Pretty straightforward. Same goes with using PowerShell, JavaScript, or even command line stuff. One thing I wanted to share with you is, which is important, and it relates to what I said before about Excel. I highly recommend that every time you start a new iteration of a flow, you task kill all Excel instances. So use command line and just add this line, how to task kill all Excel instances via command line. And I'm also showing you how I'm using Microsoft Copilot in my daily, although I know, but I don't necessarily remember all the instructions, all the prompts. So I just copy it here, command line. Come here, and actually it's not what I wanted. I want to use, let's use PowerShell. So you come here. Will this work in PowerShell as well? Might need to make adjustment for PowerShell. I don't remember. Yes, I remember it. We need to use a different command in PowerShell. This is the command. So this command will close all Excel instances, and it's a good practice when you're using Excel. Obviously, when you're using Excel, it is also recommended to use data tables, but it is too much for this tutorial, so we'll skip that. What else? Error handling, also very important topic. So let's cover this briefly. As you saw, anytime that you create a new action, you have this on error, which basically you can decide what you want to do. You want to throw an error, meaning you want the flow to pause. This is one alternative. The other alternative is continue flow run. And here you can decide if you want to just skip this specific action, move on to the next action. If you want to repeat this action and try to perhaps solve it, or go to a specific label like we did before when we skipped from the if. You remember we had the if the temperature was above 30, so we defined the label and we skip directly to that label. So you can also do this. Go to label and you add the label over here, and it will automatically skip to that specific label. Anytime you have an error, it will skip to that label. You can also add a new rule. For example, if you would like to run a subflow, and this is a good practice, creating a subflow for errors. So let me show you, and this is very important. So let's create a subflow for errors. Error subflow error. Let's remove one R. Okay, so this is a subflow for errors. So what we can do here, first of all, we want to fetch the last error. So get last error. When we use get last error, basically Microsoft Power Automate takes the last error that we had and it stores it in a variable. Once we have this variable, we can decide if we want to write it to an Excel or to a log. So let's say we want to write this to an Excel. We can paste it in a specific Excel instance, and the value that we want to write, that we would like, we can write is called last error. This will allow you to have all the errors written down in a well organized manner, and just creating an error log externally is very powerful. So this is one thing that I highly recommend, creating this subflow error. And so let's say if we have an error, we come here, and what we can do is run subflow error. So it will run this subflow, and then it can continue the flow, or it can throw an error and completely pause. So this is one thing regarding error handling. Highly recommended creating a subflow for errors. Another thing you should consider is having an on-block error. Basically what an on-block error means, let's say on-block error, API call. So instead of adding an error for each instance, like for this instance we add an error, then for this instance we add an error, instead of this we can create an on-block error, which basically means that if there is going to be any error in all of these actions, this on-block error is going to capture them. So we don't need to define an error for each one of these. We just define this once. So if there is an error during any one of these actions, we are going to automatically run the subflow, this subflow. So this is called on-block error. And yeah, I can talk about this for hours, but I just want you to be aware of the capabilities. And if you guys are interested, let me know in the comment section and I will create a dedicated video for this. Okay, let's see, clear error messages. I always recommend having, besides having the log errors, like in an Excel file or somewhere that is everything is written down, perhaps in a notepad, I highly recommend that the values that you write will be also descriptive. So the last error, this is going to be the text generated by Microsoft Power Automate, but also consider adding time and date. So you come here, get current time and date, you copy it here. The variable produced is called current date time. And what we want to do is have this action write the last error plus add the current date and time. Current date and time. So now when we run this automation, whenever we encounter an error, it is going to write this error into the Excel, the error and the time in which the error occurred, which is very important and valuable. Moving on, naming convention. So we discussed this. It is very important to have everything well organized and structured with naming conventions. At the beginning, you won't do this. I mean, if you're like me, you will just try to move fast and you will be lazy. And hopefully you're not like me. And this is why it's better to learn from my mistakes. So have these naming conventions. Don't just build the flow without giving an F about the naming conventions. Because if you have all the naming convention well organized, it's going to be way easier to troubleshoot the flow and keep everything well organized. So these are naming conventions. You start strings by str, then, as an example, the username, integers, doubles, booleans, list, simple naming conventions. This is our prefixes for UI control, so button, text, checkboxes, radio buttons, combo box, sliders, tables, stuff like this. I will just share with you guys this whole file, so you will be able to have access to this. Okay, now how to trigger flows. How to start a flow? Very common question. So first of all, you can start a flow manually. Just click the run button. The most simple thing, but it is not relevant if you want to do this like on a daily basis, so on automatically. The other alternative is using the task scheduler. This is task scheduler, which is a native solution that Microsoft is offering, and just adding a custom task over here, just creating a task, and then it will trigger the Microsoft Power Automate flow every day or every month or every week, whenever you define, based on the time that you would like. Another way to do this is using OCR. So let's say I want the flow to run. I want the flow to run on a specific time. And this is not robust, very dirty way to automate this. But what you can do, you can use the wait element. So you can do something which is called wait for window content. Basically, when you wait, or wait for text on screen, this would be actually better. So waiting for text on screen is using OCR technology. Basically, it will wait until a specific text will appear on the screen. And when it sees that that specific text appears on the screen, it is going to conduct the next actions. So let's say we would like this to trigger on 6:43 p.m. 6:42. So let's do 6:43. And now let's do message. It's time. Okay. So basically, let's disable these. What I want to show you here is I'm going to click. Let's remove this subflow because it's not relevant. Let's remove this error blocks. Okay, so what I want to show you is I'm going to click run, and the flow won't do anything until 6:43 appears here on the screen. So I click the run, and basically now the flow, it's funny. Okay, so what happened now? It waited until it saw 6:43 on the screen, but as you can see, it does have 6:43 on the screen because this part is visible. So what I want to do is, let's say we can define a specific region or on a foreground window. So it depends. There are many ways to adjust this, but let's think what is the best way to adjust this. So let's do this, and we will wait 10 seconds, and then I will minimize this screen so we won't have 6:44 except for here. So we start running. Now we are in the wait. Let's minimize this, and the flow won't do anything until we have 6:44 on the screen. So let's wait until 6:44, and why it is saying 6:44, I don't know. Let's see. 644, location of text found on X. Oh, okay, let's see. Let's do like this, 644. Let's do on foreground screen only. Foreground window, and let's do 645. And there are different ways to adjust this regularly. If it's you can look for only regular expressions, use different engines of OCR. But never mind, this is not crucial. I just want to show you how it works. And if it doesn't work, I will skip this because this is not crucial. Just another workaround, another creative workaround. Now we are waiting until 6:45. Besides that, we have the OCR and we also have an infinite loop. I don't know why it is showing this. Okay. I understand what was my mistake. Okay, this was a pretty stupid. So what we did, the waiting, this is funny. Okay, so we waited. We need to wait 10 seconds. Then 6:46. Okay, so what happened is we did the waiting over here and it saw the time and it moved on. So now I want to wait 10 seconds. Then it will start the waiting period and it will wait for 6:46 to appear on the screen. And only when it appears on the screen, it will show the message. So let's do this. Now it will be waiting for 10 seconds. Okay, now it's supposed to be fine. So we have another option of just having an infinite loop with waiting periods between. So let's say you want to run an automation daily. So you set the whole automation to run. And then after the whole automation is running, you set a wait period of 24 hours in seconds, obviously. And then you just let the flow keep on running. The downside of this, and this is why it's very highly recommended to use Hayonix, in this case a VPS, is that it kind of takes your ability of using the computer, because basically, as you saw, Microsoft Power Automate is operating on the foreground of your Windows, it's not operating in the back end. So if you want to keep working, you cannot work on your PC while the automation is doing stuff. So this is why, for me, all my automations are in the cloud in a VPS. I pay $20 per month, and this way I know that I won't have any conflicts with the automation. Let's see. Okay, it didn't find this. It didn't find it over here. Perhaps it's outside of the borders of the OCR. But as soon as I came here, it saw 6:46 and it did display the message. Anyway, not crucial, just so you guys know about this OCR ability, and also the ability to wait until specific things appear on the screen. So for example, if you want to wait until a certain button appears on the screen, so you can also use OCR and this mechanism as well. What else? What should you do if you get stuck? So first of all, check out Microsoft documentation. It is amazing. It is very well written and pretty simple to follow. If you didn't find a solution via the documentation, what I usually do is I use Copilot or ChatGPT. If you still don't have a solution, just look for the issue in Google and look for answers in the Microsoft community or in Stack Overflow. And if you don't find a solution over there, you just join perhaps any Discord channels with people who are doing RPA. You might find a solution over there. But definitely, I think the Microsoft forum, Microsoft Power Automate. Why is my Excel not opening? You can see Power Platform community, and you see this is a typical example of someone complaining that he has an error with Excel, and you see here solved, go to solution, and this is basically the solution, which is verified. basically you want to see the solution with the highest amount of likes is the solution that you should start when you're troubleshooting. But this community is pretty good. I really like whenever I'm stuck, I do find a solution over there. What else? Alternatives to Power Automate. So many people ask me, okay, do I have to install Microsoft? Do I have to use Power Automate? My short answer is, listen, if you want to do RPA, there are solutions out there. You can use UiPath, you can use automation anywhere. Zapier and Make are more like API connectors, not necessarily, don't have necessarily the capabilities that Microsoft Power Automate Desktop offers, but there are also good alternatives if you want to connect APIs and automate stuff. You also have N8N, which is more powerful because you can add code into N8N. But my first weapon of choice is always going to be Microsoft Power Automate because of the ability to do browser automation, which is great for not getting detected by platforms. This is a more black hat stuff that we can cover in more videos if you are interested in the future. The most complex tool out there is UiPath. They are leading. I think they are among the leaders of the RPA game, robotic process automation. But I highly recommend Power Automate Desktop. It is simple and powerful. And again, if you're using an RPA tool, you should definitely consider having this running on the cloud. So even if you don't have Microsoft and you're a Mac user or use Linux, you can still install Power Automate Desktop on your Microsoft operating system on the VPS in the cloud. So yeah, I definitely recommend Power Automate Desktop. It's my weapon of choice whenever it comes to automations. I guess that's it for today, guys. I hope this gave you a brief overview of Microsoft Power Automate Desktop and the capabilities. You can also check out Microsoft Power Automate, not Desktop, which is more like Zapier and stuff like this. This is a topic for a different video, but I find Microsoft Power Automate Desktop to be more powerful, at least for my use cases. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, obviously, leave a like in the comment section, subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed yet. I will have the link to this file in the comment section so you can download the exercises and the examples. If you have any questions, send them over. Feel free to connect with me via my LinkedIn. If you need any help with automating stuff, you can book a consultation call via my website, which will probably also be in the description of the video. And I guess until next time, guys, keep on automating.